Welcome to the Real Board Loft. I'm Trip Foreman, and this is the Firewire Dominator in FST construction. The Firewire Dominator has been a dominant board in the Firewire line for a few years now, so it's not the newest board in the Firewire line, but what it is, it's a consistent performer. So they keep it in the line, it continues to sell, and it continues to have a place in a lot of people's quivers. It's very relevant to what's going on. It was actually way ahead of its time. And all these things lead to a board that's very, very user-friendly and cover a wide range of conditions and a wide range of surfers. If you look at this board, it's got a pointed nose, but it's a wider nose leading into a wider round tail. So not necessarily a round pin, but just a rounded tail right here, round tail. And it carries some width through the board. The measurements on this board, this is the board that I actually surfed myself. It's a 6'4", 21 inches wide, 2.75 thick, and coincidentally those are the same dimensions as a Lost Mini Driver 6'4", but where this board differs from the Mini Driver is that it's got, although it's 6'4" in length, 21 in the middle, and 2 3/4 thick, where this board is different is that it has a wider nose at 12 inches off the nose. It has a flatter nose rocker, so both of those things are going to make it paddle easier. And then it continues at that width longer into the back of the board and has more area at 12 inches off the tail all the way to the back of the board. So wider nose, wider tail, flatter nose rocker. Just looking at the dimensions, if you were shopping the boards online or just looking at pictures of the boards, you'd be like, oh, those boards are pretty similar. Dramatically different when you surf both of them back to back. This one's easier to paddle, easier to get into the waves, easier on flatter face waves, generates more lift under your back foot with that bigger tail, and also just stays planing through flat sections better. The Mini Driver is going to be better for super late drops. The Mini Driver has a more tapered rail. This has a fuller rail section. One board's made for just dredging barrels and better high performance, powerful waves. This is actually a better board for softer waves, more stability as well by having those thicker rails. So what does this board do well? I surfed this board in the dead of winter. I had a 5mm wetsuit on, 5mm boots, 5mm gloves, the hood on. Air temperature was in the 30s, water was like high 30s as well. So you're at about your worst performance of shortboard surfing, especially if you're a recreational surfer. Was able to catch every wave I paddled for, get up to my feet, even bobbled takeoffs with all that gear on, like dragging your wetsuit, your club wetsuit toe across the board. No matter where you stood up on the board, like you could still make waves and make it down the line, make good higher performance turns. So not as high performance as a full-on shortboard, but way snappier and tighter in the pocket than a big wide-nose grovel board or that type of board. So it's going to have a more performance turn, a snappier turn off the top, but it's going to be easier to catch waves on and easier to balance on. The 21 inches wide is a nice width for a board of this size. I mean, they make these all the way down to 5'6", and obviously in those sizes they're narrower, but proportionally they're all about the same width per their length. And what that does is it gives you the stability to get up on the board and not exactly be in the right place and still make the wave and have the board feel good. By carrying a little bit more width closer to the rail, that also makes the board more stable. So if you do put too much weight on one rail or another as you're standing up, it's not going to take off in that direction right away. So the flatter nose rocker that we talked about and the wider nose make it easier to paddle. And then that wider round tail, there's people out there that like the big squashes. The round tail is definitely a smooth tail for rolling in and out of turns off of this curve right here. Also, if you get yourself in a situation where it is one of the several best days of the year and it is a more hollow wave, you can run this board either as a tri or a quad and have it hold in and do well in punchier surf as well. The flatter nose rocker is going to get you into the wave earlier. You're not going to want to be free falling into it with a rocker that flat, but you get into the wave early, set up, and it will hold as well. Comparing this board, the construction FST, to buying a standard PU poly board, a lot of people love this board for the durability. The main features in it is that it has a high density foam deck and bottom sheet, and then it has balsa on the rails. And so what those things do, the high density foam prevents the deck from getting all dented up. The high density foam on the bottom prevents buckling or breaking of the board, and then the The rails being reinforced with wood gives the board a little bit more spring out of the turns, and then also most of your dings are on the rails, so if it hits the rail, it's going to be a lot less resistant to dinging, and then also a lot less resistant to going through the wood into the board, so a lot more durable construction. This board, who's this board for? It's for somebody that wants a no-nonsense, easy-to-surf, performance-oriented board that's forgiving. So you want to have something that's maneuverable, but you want to have something that it doesn't take you to have to be on top of your A game in order to surf it really well. It's also going to be a great single board for somebody who lives in a place that has average waves but not super punchy waves, and you just want to have one board that's going to cover a lot of conditions. The Dominator could do that. It could go up against a lot of grovelers on the low end, and it's still going to hold in some decent conditions. It's not going to go head to head with a mini driver or a rock up or a dream catcher from Roberts like when it's really going off, but for most conditions this board is going to do really well and be very performance oriented, very accessible to most surfers. See a lot of people getting this board, if they're my size, they're getting it as their single board. If they're, average ability or a little bit above average ability, getting it as a single board. You see a lot of more athletic surfers that are going to get this board below their performance short board as their groveler, as their hybrid, something shorter and wider, more fun to surf, like in that summer style surf where the surf is kind of small and mushy, maybe a little bit windblown. So it's a Firewire Dominator, available full range of sizes, and any questions, give us a call here at Reel or check it out on our website, realwatersports.com.